right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the Dumb Marks Podcast Marvel Roundtable. That's we're not just talking about our waist size here, being round, or um,
Maybe
Jay
some
and
of
Wilda,
us.
Jay and Willa, Jada and Will got the red table talk, and we're going with a special roundtable edition tonight. We're going to dive in, cover all things Marvel from the year that was 2021. Hit up probably a deeper dive into Spider-Man No Way Home, and then predict and take a look at what's upcoming this year from the MCU Phase 4, which we did get some pushback dates with stuff, with some releases, and things have been set to be reshot. So hopefully there won't be too many delays this year like we saw last year. But yeah, exciting times for the MCU. Everybody enjoy what came out from Marvel this past year.
For the most part, yeah.
Heck yeah.
Definitely.
Oh well, hold on. Pause. Let me time out here. Excuse me for being a dumb mark. I'm not introducing the guest panelists tonight for the roundtable. Cam, how you doing?
Pretty good. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks for coming on the
Thanks
show.
for coming on.
Avid listener to the Dumb Marks podcast. See, if it pays to be a fan of the show, because you can come on the show and have guest run-ins whenever we do specials. So thanks for listening, tuning in, supporting the show.
I was thinking it was Jason down there the whole time.
Yeah, we are missing the fourth dumb mark from the best four-man booth in the business, and if he doesn't show up tonight for work, he will definitely get an earful tomorrow on the regular Dumb Mark Saturday Live edition. After he made some choice comments to me last night about what I had going on tomorrow. So, all right, awesome. So with that being said, look, we're what, a month out, pretty much almost to the day of the release of Spider-Man No Way Home. Came out on December 17th. We're now sitting at January 15th, so almost, a month later. Spoiler alert, if you haven't seen the movie and don't want to hear, check out now. This isn't the show for you. If you have seen Spider-Man No Way Home, by all means, stick around, send in comments, let us know your thoughts and opinions on the movie itself, what you like, what you didn't like, and then we'll get into breaking it down here. So first off, let's just go around the room right off the bat here, and I'm just curious, scale of 1 to 10, what do you give Spider-Man No Way Home?
I liked it a lot. I'll put it in my top 10 of Marvel movies, but not my top 5. I think there was stronger stories, movies that had stronger stories by themselves. But I'll give it a 9 out of 10 for sure.
Okay, Chris?
It's a solid score. Honestly, walking out of that theater, and even before I start this, we talked about spoiler alert. I gotta throw something out to people. Y'all just jumped on spoilers for this movie. Like, you didn't give any time. Like, you went on social media and you just posted shit, and that's not cool. Like, give me the weekend. If it's the week after, that's one thing. It usually gets lost in the shuffle. But like, people were we're posting stuff about the movie, like screenshots and everything the day of it. Just like that's way too soon. Like, people have no filter anymore on social media whatsoever.
Yeah, I managed to go see it. I didn't go the week it came out. I went the following week, that Sunday. So I managed to go a whole 8-9 days without catching any spoilers or seeing anything. I was very proud of myself for that.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to get ruined.
I saw a picture. I didn't know if it was legit or not. So it's just like, I was like, all right. I was like, we'll see if it happens or not. And of course, I watched the movie and
it happened.
Yeah.
And they said people was dropping them in like random threads too. It was like football arguments and that stuff, and people were dropping the screenshots.
It didn't matter.
Wow.
It did not matter what you were talking about. You could have been on Pinterest. It didn't matter. You were getting spoilers everywhere. That there was an internet connection and you were on it. You were getting a spoiler.
Yeah.
So with that said, great movie. Really enjoyed it. My head hurt. There was so much information that was packed in this movie. So much stuff that went on during that whole thing. Like, there's little Easter eggs throughout the whole thing. So much story. I feel like I do need to watch it a second time to really grasp everything to give it a proper rating. But I enjoyed it. It probably would be in my top 10. I don't know. It could even be in my top 5 of Marvel, but I'll go 8 out of 10 right now.
Cam, one of the reasons you're on as a guest panelist tonight was based off of your strong review of Spider-Man itself, and basically, let me see here if I remember what you said right. There were 3 movies that you've seen in your life that made you cry, right?
Mm-hmm.
3 movies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Spider-Man: No Way Home was one.
Yep.
Okay. Toy Story 3.
Yeah. Yep.
The incinerator?
No, not that part. When Andy's driving away, when he gives the toys to the girl, and he's like, they're watching him drive away. Yes, the end.
Okay.
And then what's the 3rd movie?
Men in Black 3. Whenever Will Smith like sees his father in the back and he can't say anything to him, it's terrible. He can't do anything about it.
I didn't even see Men in Black 3. Okay, I didn't even know
You're not missing anything.
You're not missing anything.
No,
You brought it up.
Yeah, you really are.
yeah, you're not missing anything.
But I know the scene he's talking about. So,
So with that being said, forgetting the waterworks and the tears, but what would you give? Let me ask you this: your initial rating, is it still the same for you?
Yeah, it hasn't changed. It's honestly probably gone higher since I've seen it twice, so I could look out for the Easter eggs. Yeah, I could actually look out for the Easter eggs and stuff like Chris was saying on the second go around. You can look out for that stuff, be kind of prepared for what was going to come, and it still gets you the second time around. Like every scene still chills. I got to give it 11 out of 10. You can't even give it a 10. It's number 1 for me. Number 1 Marvel movie.
All right,
best
save
movie
the,
of all time.
save the hold on, save the number 1 Marvel movie and top 10, top 5. Save that because at the end, before we get off for the night, I'm going to pose a question to you. I actually have two versions of the question. I want to get some banter and some thoughts on as far as that goes. But all right, so then ratings wise, for myself, I've been bouncing back and forth on it. Honestly, Chris, I'm in agreement with you. I feel like I need to go back through and watch it a second time to really appreciate everything that was in it. Pick up on stuff that I missed the first time. But yeah, I would say I would probably go 7.5, maybe 8 out of 10.
So right up the scale.
Yeah, so right up the scale. Definitely in my like you guys said, probably top 10. I don't know if I'd go top 5. We can get into whether or not I thought it was the best Marvel movie released last year, because I think I would go Shang-Chi above Spider-Man No Way Home, but that's a personal preference. And we can get into that as we go through on the show here. So, all right, well then let's break this down since we're all praising it, and I think it was last I checked, I think it's around 93 or 94 Rotten Tomatoes. I don't know if it stayed that way, if it dropped down at all, but it was one of the highest rated Marvel movies that came out all time. So it's up there. What about this movie?
It is there. That was Cam's take on it.
Well, yeah. So Cam, let me ask you this first, because you've seen it twice, so you've caught in the subtle nuances and the Easter eggs that maybe people missed the first time because they were too into the actual movie to pick up on everything, which Marvel does a lot. The more times you rewatch something, the more times you pick up on things. But what about this 3rd movie of the trilogy here? What about it made it stand out to you as far as how they tied everything together and just the overall theme of the movie itself?
Well, so the first 2 Holland movies, he's been labeled as Iron Boy Jr. from most fans because it's all about Iron Man or all about side characters joining him. And you could say the exact same thing about this movie. Sure, there's people that join him in the fights and whatnot. But when you get down to the end, the nitty-gritty of it, the final thing we see of Tom Holland, he's finally Spider-Man. Like we finally nailed down the character to its roots. We're back to just original spandex Spider-Man. He has nobody knows him. Like it was just, I loved how they just tied that all together, and at the end, he's just back down to bare minimum Spider-Man.
Basically, so at the end of the movie, or are you talking about like the final fight scene or the final boss level, so to speak, whenever it's just him versus Green Goblin by himself and there's nobody else around and it's just them two on the shield. Were they on the shield that was floating into the into the river there, right? Cap shield. You talking about that there, or just basically the ending, how it just tied into him being Spider-Man and that's it?
More so the ending part, like when you see the sewing machine at the end and he made his spandex suit and it's no longer Iron Man tech and all that crap that he was dealing with in the first two. We're just down to Peter Parker, spandex Spider-Man suit, and then they could go anywhere from here. They don't have to tie in Iron Man, Captain Marvel. They don't have to tie in anybody else. It's just we're down to Spider-Man. That's what I loved about it. We left off with an open book.
Donald, what do you say to that, and just your overall take on the theme and how they handled the third movie itself?
They handled it well. They really did wrap up everything in the first two movies. The only issue that I had with it, I think it relied on nostalgia a little bit too much. Like you really had to watch the previous Spider-Man ones, the Garfield and the Maguire ones, the Tobey ones, to really understand what was going on with the story wise. Because if you never watch those ones, you'll never understand what those villains, like who they were or anything like that.
More so the Tobey movies.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's funny you bring that up because I went to the movies with my daughter to see it, and she's a huge Spider-Man fan. Came into Spider-Man with the first Tom Holland movie, and hooked her. Spider-Man's her favorite out of all of them. So as the movie's going on and leading up to us going, I kept telling her like, "Hey, we got to sit down and watch these because you're not going to know what's going on." And she didn't get around to watching them. So we're in the movie and I'm like leaning in and I'm like, that's Doc Ock and that's Sandman. That's Electro, like giving it to her. So she, a novice going in, she really enjoyed the movie, liked it a whole lot, just like she did the other two, but I don't think it hit the same way for her because she wasn't up on the story from the other movies.
Sure.
Yeah, so I mean that was the only thing that I really didn't care for. It was like extremely too much nostalgia. I was more looking forward to the Doctor Strange parts because I'm really into him and the multiverse of madness. So I really wanted to see that part of the story focused more than the nostalgia parts. But I understood why they did everything. But you know me, I like moving forward.
Keep that thought because I want to circle back to that point on the next question here. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, I agree with Donald. I felt like it wrapped up everything. It wasn't necessarily just wrapped up this trilogy. It wrapped up the original trilogy because that just kind of ended. You never got anything else extra. The Andrew movies. After the second one, nothing else came from that. So it completed everything. And tied it up real nice. So it's like whatever they decided to do with Spider-Man going forward, it is really going to be a brand new trilogy because I don't see too much, continuing on from this at all.
Yeah, I thought they handled it well. Again, you guys touched on a lot of the points that I was going to bring up. One of the things that struck me while I was watching the movie, the way they pulled in the, with great power comes great responsibility line. And we've been waiting for that for at least the first two Tom Holland movies because it's never been said, right? And I thought the way they did it was just done brilliantly. You know, having it come from Aunt May, and having her be the loss, which I thought was a nice, you know, a different spin on it. Because every other movie, it's always been, you know, Uncle Ben.
Wasn't
So
expecting
having it,
that.
yeah, wasn't expecting that at all.
Was not expecting that.
So to have her be the one who this entire time throughout these three movies has been, you know, I don't want to say the moral compass for Peter, but somebody that's kept him grounded, and no matter what he got into, has always been there to keep him on the right path as far as what you're doing as Spider-Man matters. Like what you do to help people matters, and being that light around all the villains and darkness and everything else. To have her be the one to say the line, I thought it was super powerful. And then just the moment with the three of them, and you know, they're on top of the school, and you know, he says it, and then them two finish it, and it was just like, all right, like that was done perfectly. I don't think it could have been written better for the way that they handled that.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that it connects. Like it was kind of cool to see that in the multiverse, they all connect together. They all have something, some reason that
they all had a loss.
So were you guys, because it was Aunt May in this one that was Peter's loss, and again, we're dealing with different universes and everything, right? So the fact that it was May, which was a change from what we know of Spider-Man itself, did that hurt, or did that detract from the moment at all? Or did it make you think, well, I, you know, wish it was Uncle Ben to keep the continuity between the three movies and Spider-Man itself? Or did you like the change that they decided to go with it being, you know, Aunt May as the one that was his true loss?
I was okay with
better.
No, I liked it for the change. Because they never really mentioned Uncle Ben at all.
Yeah, we know nothing about him. So.
Yeah, like you know nothing about like this universe's Uncle Ben at all.
Yeah.
And then
so it was just May the whole time.
In the other ones, you know, Uncle Ben dies so soon. You know, that's the origin story. Here, you got to know Aunt May in 3 movies, and you know, you establish her character very well as, you know, like you said, a foundation for Peter. She helps ground him, and then you take her away whenever he kind of needs her the most.
Right. Does this? So we see in the movie where, you know, the two Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield show up. We get all 3 Spider-Mans together, and you know, the storyline of it, as far as him wanting to cure these individuals, you know, cure these villains of whatever it is that made them become villains, and then send them back to their universe as regular people. The fact that 3 Spider-Man can concoct stuff and potions, whatever, fixed technology, like with Doc Ock, with the piece that goes in to control, you know, the arms and that. Do you think, does that set some type of, I don't want to say negative precedent, but an issue where it's like, oh, to beat villains now, all you need is 3 Spider-Man in a lab.
In a multiverse.
I mean, like, so realistically, we could have just got Toby and Andrew on the phone, and they could have took out Thanos, and you know, before Infinity War, we didn't need the snap, and 5 years later bring people back. Like, we just needed them in my high school chemistry set, and they would be able to get rid of.
Thanos. I agree. I think it had, like, especially like, look at Doc Ock. Look how quick they did it. You know, he basically, Toby comes in, he goes, you know, I've had this in mind for a while now, and then like it's like 1, 2, 3. Okay, we fixed Doc Ock.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, Ken, what'd you think of that part of the plot and the storyline and the precedent that it said that, hey, you know, we don't need much, but we can come up with something, you know, in about 20 minutes here that can cure villains.
I thought it was okay for these specific villains, just because we know from the Maguire movies that he's a smart student. He's really good in college. He's lazy and never shows up. And we know that Andrew Garfield is also pretty darn smart too, because he makes his own webs. You see him experimenting in his little garage thing with his like electric webs so they don't get zapped whenever Electro's going after him in the second one. And we don't really, well, actually, no, that's not true. We do see Holland. He is pretty smart too in these because he goes to the science fairs in the first one and whatnot. So, I mean, to me, I was okay with it because it made sense that all three of them can combine their smarts and their heads and come up with stuff to solve them. And they're not really like Thanos level villains. I mean, we're talking about like a dude that turns himself into a lizard and a guy that falls in a sand pit and becomes Sandman. Like they can work around that. I don't think it's going to be a big problem going forward.
Yeah, because at the end they're all human. I mean, yeah, Thanos isn't, human.
Right. No, yeah, I get it. It was just one of those things that, after watching the movie and thinking about it, I'm like, well, so really, like, what's needed to be like? Did we have to go through, interstellar universal warfare with all these villains whenever we can just, come up with love potion number 9 and everybody's singing kumbaya at the end of the movie, like, you know what I mean?
With a multiverse and time travel, you don't know what's going to happen next.
It's true. That is true. So all right, so Donald, you said you were most looking forward to the future and what this movie was going to set up as far as phase 4 in the multiverse. Based off of what you saw from this movie, did it set the table for what to expect from Doctor Strange 2 and the Madness of the Multiverse, or are you ready to go? Like, can May come fast enough for you, or do you think that they could have did more for it? 1 and 2, did any of that take away from this movie?
To me, nothing took away from that movie that's coming out real soon. Because on this end, I think they did the universe for Spider-Man as a fun type way. I think Doctor Strange 2 is actually going to be like a darker, more look at the multiverse. Especially when he couldn't really like hold the rift together at the end and everybody was coming in. I think there's of course, a darker power that is trying to go through, and he's going to have to explore it with Wanda and the other co-star in it also. So yeah, no, it didn't take anything away from me. This was the fun side of the multiverse. That movie's going to be the dark side of it.
Chris, did that have any effect on you as far as this movie? Did it take away from Spider-Man as far as setting the table for what's next to come, or do you think that they did a good job of blending it all in to get people excited for Doctor Strange 2?
I think they kept true to Spider-Man at the same point, because Spider-Man, the past other two have been, you get that serious element, but there's also more lighthearted stuff in there than you don't always get in every other Marvel movie. So I think they kept true, and to me, it didn't take away. I'm looking just as much forward to Doctor Strange as I was before. Since WandaVision, whenever I started getting excited about Doctor Strange, and it just keeps building. At this point, I'm ready for May to roll around and see Doctor Strange.
Cam, same question for you.
Yeah, I'm in the same exact boat as these two guys. I feel like Donald touched on it pretty good, that this was the good side of what could happen. And what's going to happen in May is the complete opposite of what's going to happen. I'm pretty darn excited for it. I really want it to come out now.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. All right, cool. Anybody got any other thoughts on Spider-Man No Way Home before we take a look back before we move forward from the year that was at Marvel in 2021?
Yeah, I heard somebody on YouTube talk about an interesting point, saying if they do another Avengers movie and the Avengers need help and Spider-Man comes, but they don't know who they are, they said that Doctor Strange could somehow reverse it so they know who Spider-Man is, like reverse the spell he did. But they wouldn't trust Spider-Man, but Spider-Man would like talk about what happened on Titan in Infinity War because just only a handful of people knew what happened on there, and they could gain his trust, and they'd be like, "Oh, this person actually do know us."
Well,
so that's
see, my only rebuttal to that is that Doctor Strange doesn't know who he is either, right? Like, because you have the moment between them two right before he finalizes the spell where it's nice knowing you, kid, and that's it. And so like Strange doesn't know who he is either.
I think that's why he said he needed to tell him specific stuff that happened in his life. Since there was only a handful of people on Titan, he could start explaining like the battle of Titan with Thanos and Iron Man and all that stuff. And then that might not trigger something, but it was like, hold up, how did he know that when only there was a handful of us there?
So what I saw online, and after leaving Spider-Man, that was my take on it. No one's going to know who he is. This is it. He's basically on a lone island by himself for the time being. A lot of people online think that they don't know who Peter Parker is, but they know Spider-Man, and that he's still a part of the Avengers, and that everything that he's done still exists. It's just they don't know the Peter Parker aspect of it. So I don't know where this is really going, but
Cam, what's your take on that?
That's a pretty good point. I didn't think of it that way because the whole spell was to forget who Peter was, so all this goes away. That's a good point. I didn't think of it that way.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Now you got me trying to think back to how like what he said whenever he actually did it, and yeah, I guess you're right because it was to forget that Peter Parker was Spider-Man, not to forget Spider-Man. So yeah, I mean, essentially, yeah, you could have something to where he comes back as Spider-Man and everybody still knows Spider-Man, but they don't know that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. So the identity is back to being secretive again. It's not bad, not a bad thought. One last thing I want to touch on before we move on. The post-credit scene. We see Venom there in Mexico getting drunk, drinking tequila, I would assume. What'd you think of the post-credit scene? Are you excited to see Venom enter the MCU, and what do you expect from Tom Hardy and Venom moving forward?
Anytime we get Venom or the symbionts, on a movie, especially an MCU movie, it's going to be good. So I'm all for that. But I really didn't get how a piece of Venom is still there in the MCU when everything, returned back to their universe. Like even that little piece that broke off, that should have been sent back as well too.
Yeah, my take on the end credit scene was that we're not going to see Tom Holland. What's his name?
Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy. We're not going to see Tom Hardy be Venom. We're going to see someone in the MCU be Venom now because the symbiote's still there and it's just going to attach onto somebody else now. That's how I kind of took that.
Yeah, I think it might be Flash Thompson because he turns into Agent Venom and other Spider-Mans.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good the way they did it, honestly. There's a thing in the comics, I'm not too familiar with it, but Venom has like a hive mind. And what that is like all the collective Venoms around the world and universes or whatever, they all have like a central running mind that all kind of connects each other. So like that's how he knew who Peter was, because the Venom in Spider-Man 3 knew that Peter was like knew who Peter was. So like, does this little glob that stays at the end, is that going to know who Peter is and try and go after him? And that's why I think we're going to get Black Suit Spider-Man, because that little blob's going to, find its way over to Tom Holland's Peter, and we're going to get Black Suit Spidey because he knows who Peter is.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Never even thought of that.
Didn't know about the hive thing, so that's an interesting.
Yeah, I'm not too familiar exactly what that was. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's like the gist of what that means.
Yeah, I didn't know the how thing either. I thought just the symbiote itself just knew, like, whoever attached to the symbiote knew who that person was.
So I listen. I'm a huge Venom guy. I still have to watch the second one. That's probably on my agenda this weekend, along with Eternals, because I got a 3-day weekend here. So we'll be snowed in apparently in Western PA come Sunday and Monday. So so that's on my agenda for the weekend. I didn't mind the post-credit scene at all. Thought it was fine. I kind of was hoping for the post-credit scene to be the introduction of Miles.
Okay.
I wish.
But I understand why they did what they did. I'm not mad at it. Not going to complain about it. Just as, I guess the fanboy in me just kind of wanted to see, the introduction of Miles. Probably not the right time for that, but I just thought that would have been a cool little post-credit scene to get people talking.
I mean, they gave the little nod to Miles in the movie.
They did.
Mm-hmm.
They did. But I thought just to actually see him on screen there would have been like, oh shit, like here we go. But I'm not mad at what they did because it does leave the door open for Venom in the MCU.
So speaking of Miles, so we have Spider-Man No Way Home, and then if you guys have seen Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, so it's basically this was the live action version of that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a preference on one or the other, or do you think this one lived up, to what Sony did originally?
Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse and this, I don't. To me, it's apples to oranges, even though it is somewhat similar. Spider-Man and the Spider-Verse is one of my favorite movies. That year that it came out, I thought it should have won Best Picture, honestly. But just in general, as a movie, like I rewatch that every single time that's on TV now. It's kind of like how like Shawshank Redemption is for people that know that like anytime it's on, you just stop and watch it, no matter what point in the movie it is. So yeah, I'm not. I wouldn't necessarily compare them or thought one did it better than the other, but yeah, I'm excited for the I guess the second one of that to come out at some point in time too.
Is that this year?
Pretty sure 2023. I'm pretty sure
2023. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, all right, cool. So that's the Spider-Man No Way Home breakdown. Before we look forward, we shall look into the past because there was a lot of stuff this past year that came out from Marvel that will tie into what's getting ready to come out this year moving forward. So, from a movie standpoint, not counting series on Disney Plus, but movie standpoint, 2021 obviously looked a lot different than what we were originally expecting from Marvel based off of COVID and how that affected everything. But movie wise, what came out from Marvel this year, what would you rank them? How would you put them? Did you like one more than the other? And any thoughts on the movies in general? We had Black Widow, Shang-Chi, Eternals, Spider-Man, No Way Home. It was it. So those 4 thoughts movie-wise from the big screen of Marvel.
I really like Shang-Chi and Eternals because I knew nothing about those 2 movies. So me just going in blind, open-minded on them, they really opened my eyes for those 2 movies for sure. Black Widow, it just felt like another action MCU movie. I mean, it was all right. I wouldn't say great. It was okay, but it did bring us Yelena, so I'm not complaining about that.
Chris?
Hey, we discussed this at the beginning. Black Widow, Scarlett Johansson movie automatically gets 2 thumbs up. So it was the movie it was what it was. It really didn't add anything to the Phase 4 of the MCU. Shang-Chi, completely different story. At new character, new story. Love the action in Shang-Chi. I thought the action was some of the best action scenes that I've watched in a Marvel movie.
Mm-hmm.
Love the cast. I thought the cast was great. The story did disappoint me a little bit. So it's it wasn't I wouldn't put that in my top 10 but there was a lot in that movie that would make me want to go back to watch it again.
Yes.
Eternals, I watched that last night. That was just god awful. I never need to watch that movie again in my lifetime. So for me, Spider-Man was the highlight of the Marvel of 2021.
Cam?
Yeah, well, we touched on this. Spider-Man's my, number one. So that's aside.
Right.
Black Widow was good. It would have hit a lot better if it was like 2 to 3 years ago. I feel like we didn't need that story really, right now.
Yeah, COVID really did a disservice to that, because, like you said, if it would have came out whenever it was originally set to release after, the last Spider-Man, I think it would have done a lot better, and people would hold it in a different regard than what they do now, just given the amount of time that lapsed between when it was announced and when it actually came out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that hit, but it wasn't as big as it could have been. I wasn't so down on Eternals. I wouldn't put it I wouldn't say I got to rewatch this, but I'd watch it again. And Shang-Chi by far was just out of this world. I love that movie. It's probably in my top 5 too. The story, the family drama, everything, I didn't know anything about Shang-Chi either, but going into it, I didn't know anything. But coming out of it, I started to do my little bit of research on it, and they could do some pretty cool stuff coming in the next movie or two, because we're confirmed for a Shang-Chi 2. So that'll be fun to see where they go.
Yeah, I saw everything but Eternals. Like I said, that's on my to-do list this weekend, so that my opinion may change after seeing that. For me, my number one out of the Marvel movies this year, Shang-Chi was my number one. I was blown away by that movie. The choreography, the fight scenes, the way it was shot, just the nods to the culture and family dynamics and everything else. Like, it was just so well done. I love how they tied the Mandarin storyline up from Iron Man 3, because that got left hanging out there for a while. And but yeah, I'm super pumped for the second one. Really looking forward to that. Spider-Man was a close 1A, 1B type situation for me. From that side of things. And then Black Widow, like I said, I think COVID did the disservice the most to that movie because of the delays and the time frame that it took to come out. So that was the big screen for Marvel in 2021. Let's look at the Disney Plus side of things. Hey, 38 minutes late. Not even pay. This is unbelievable.
I'm here typing in the chat like, I'll be here for Hawkeye if God.
You are definitely not my Falcon or my Winter Soldier.
I'm not on your left, man. I'm not.
No, you're not on the left. I don't want you on my 6. I don't want you, 12 o'clock. No, not at all. So, well, thanks for showing up. You can join the conversation the rest of the way. If you want to hear what we talked about in the beginning, you can go back and rewatch this on YouTube after it's done.
I don't want spoiler alerts.
So right now we're getting ready to discuss real quick the year that was on Disney Plus for Marvel with the releases of WandaVision, Falcon Winter Soldier, Loki, What If, and Hawkeye. You don't got to give me 1 through 5 in order, but just kind of what was your favorite, your least favorite, and a little bit about each, so to speak, if you want.
Me? Or
yeah, we'll go with you since you showed up late. You can be first to answer this time around.
Well, I didn't get to see What If. My nephew just wouldn't let me watch it at all. But I caught the other ones. I'd go. WandaVision was definitely one. I'll go Falcon Winter Soldier, and then Loki.
Okay, so Hawkeye.
Yeah, that's why I logged on. Hawkeye's last.
Hawkeye's last for you out of those, since you didn't see What If. Hawkeye's last.
Yeah.
Okay, Donald, what do you got?
WandaVision 1 for sure. That was just something completely different, something they never touched on and everything. Number 2, I know I talk shit about time travel so much, but Loki opened my eyes from the way they did the story and everything. I still hate time travel, but the way that they did everything and they introduced Kang and all that stuff, I'm okay with it. I say Falcon
a version of Kang. We don't.
Yeah, a version.
He who knows. It wasn't Kang.
Yeah. Then Falcon Winter Soldier would be 3. What If? I liked all the episodes of What If until the end. I did not like that ending whatsoever. I think they shouldn't did what they did for people who didn't see it. They shouldn't did that. And Hawkeye was just horrible. There was that had absolutely nothing to. I mean, they wrapped up the Ronin story, but I didn't connect with it whatsoever on any level at all.
All right, Chris.
For me, Captain America and the Winter Soldier is by far probably my favorite Marvel movie. So the Falcon and Winter Soldier, number 1. Like, I felt continued that story great. Really enjoyed each episode of that. From there, I'd probably go WandaVision. And I didn't love WandaVision. I'm probably only giving it the number 2 spot because I was a big fan of Agatha. So Agatha bumped it up. So I'm really looking forward to that series when that comes out. I didn't see What If, so I can't. I'm just going to put that in the bottom just because. But I'll have a little asterisk next to it. Yeah, then I'd probably go Loki 3, and then I guess Hawkeye 4. I don't know. Hawkeye's Aquaman of the Marvel universe.
That's a bit harsh. That's a bit harsh. Cam, what do you got?
I'd say What If was probably last for me. That didn't hit for me. I didn't like it. I dreaded getting up every morning to watch that, in all honesty. I'd probably say Falcon Winter Soldier before. It was a good series. Just other ones were just a tad better for me. I'll go Loki at 3. I love the time travel stuff. That was just great story. I mean, they left it with like, who the heck knows what's going on in season 2, or where we're going to see any of these people again. I'd probably say WandaVision at 2. That was great for what it did. And this is controversial, but Hawkeye at number 1.
Hawkeye at 1. Okay,
Yeah.
so why do you what was it about Hawkeye that had it at 1 for you?
I think the other ones were not Falcon Winter Soldier. That was kind of a grounded story too, but the other ones were such broad scale stories that you had to like really wrap your brain around like each episode and what could happen if this thing goes down the way it's supposed to or is not supposed to. Like, it was just, sometimes it was a little too much. Hawkeye was a nice grounded point A to point B to point C story that was just a fun ride, quirky. We got cool moments, we got emotional moments. I think that it had everything and it wasn't too broad scale.
You got the debut of Kingpin. The fat guy made his way in. If none of you have watched Daredevil on Netflix, to get an idea on the character, if you're not too familiar with it, obviously go back in and watch that on Netflix. And we saw a cameo in Spider-Man No Way Home from Daredevil himself there, which I thought was really, really awesome how they did that.
Yes.
So yeah, okay. For me, I got WandaVision at 1. Just I was blown away by it, the way they shot it, how they based it off of old TV sitcoms, and each episode was a different sitcom throughout the decades, but it was based off of how Wanda grew up watching sitcoms, like just all of it, and then the fact that it dealt with a person's grief and like how like lengths that, you know, grief, if you don't deal with it properly, where it could take you and everything else. So like on emotional level, that one just that hit home for a lot of reasons. But that was just, I was blown away by it. So I got that at 1. 2, honestly, I can't pick between Loki and Falcon and Winter Soldier. Given day, one maybe 2 and the other one might be 3. The next day I'd probably flip it around. Love the story behind the story. You know, Falcon and Winter Soldier, we talked about on a podcast before whenever it came out, you know, all the dealing with the racial issues and everything else that went into it and all that. That got me, that one got me to choke up and have a little tear roll down the cheek there. You know, the end of the last episode there. Loki, you know, seeing him in that version of him and having that side of his character exposed, you know, being flawed and recognizing it, and that constant struggle between him wanting to good but yet be mischievous and be evil. I just thought it was tremendous. Hawkeye was what it was, so I'll leave Hawkeye there. What If, I enjoyed it. It does, you know, one thing we know with all these Disney Plus series is that they tie into the movies, right? They said that whenever Marvel talked about their plan for these shows, that you got to watch the shows because you're going to miss stuff that's going to be tied into the movies, and we've seen it play out that way so far based on the shows that came out. So, you know, we'll see. I think What If might make more sense whenever we get to Doctor Strange 2, based off of what happened in that. There'll be more tie-ins to Doctor Strange, so that may make you appreciate What If a little bit more. If you haven't watched it, I would probably watch it before going into Doctor Strange 2, just so you're caught up there from that end of things. So, all right, so that's the small screen version for Marvel in 2021. Let's jump into what to expect this year, 2022 Marvel release for both movies and Disney Plus. These are in no particular order as far as release date. Some of them have an actual release date listed, others do not. They just say 2022. So, asterisk with COVID, card subject to change. As we know, we may get delays, hope not. First up on the list is Miss Marvel Disney Plus series. Right now, they have it as being summer 2022. I know it came out recently that they just went back in for major reshoots. You can take that for what it is, and we'll see what happens there. Moon Knight, Disney Plus 2022. Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, May 6th. She-Hulk 2022. Thor, Love and Thunder, July 8th. Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, November 11th. Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special, December. What If Season 2, and Secret Invasion, Disney Plus 2022. So out of that list, what are you guys most looking forward to?
Probably Secret Invasions will be the biggest one for me. Seeing what will happen with all the scrolls and everything, if you know that storyline and
WandaVision,
the comics, that's I'm really looking forward to Secret Invasion, and then Wakanda Forever, because I want to see what they do without Chadwick Boseman and see how that story flips.
Well, there's also somebody else that they're going to be without for Wakanda Forever. So the original plan for Black Panther, that's going to have to change again unless something else is done here soon. But I don't think it's going to work. I think she's done.
Were you talking about the sister?
Yeah, she
just returned to filming this week.
Oh, she did come back.
Yep,
I didn't see that. Okay, because last I saw was that she was out. She wasn't coming back based off of like the COVID and the vaccine protocols and everything.
Yeah, I forget what website like announced it, but I think it might have been comicbook.com. But they said after like 5 months of the wrist injury that she suffered in COVID and all that, she came back this week.
Cool. Okay. All right.
Hopefully that
All
finishes up. Hopefully they can get that out on time.
Right. Yeah. Jay?
What I really want is a Kate Bishop, Maya, and Helena Disney Plus show. But I mean, I'm just going in with a blank slate, not expecting nothing. So there's really nothing I'm looking for, because this is way out of my knowledge of
characters and
yeah.
stories and how they all tie into each other and that.
So now I just go with a blank slate, open, expecting nothing. I will say, since you said the sisters returning, I'll throw Wakanda Forever in there.
Chris?
All of them I'm looking forward to. I think they're all going to be good movies. Doctor Strange I'm probably looking forward to the most, just because of the story. Black Panther, just what you guys had already said, just everything that's going on with that movie, just to see what they do. Looking forward to that. I like all the Thor movies, so in a way, I'm looking forward to seeing what the next evolution of the Thor character is going to be. Because it's going to be completely different than what it was in the first few phases. So yeah, but yeah, right now, most looking forward to Doctor Strange the most.
Yeah, I mean these there's going to be so much that comes out. And Jay, you bring up a good point now, especially with these Disney Plus series. I was thinking the other day, like, at some point, I get that you want to release the series to where they tie into the movies, but if you're going to continue to bring out these characters that people aren't as familiar with because they're not the mainstream push ones that we've known our entire lives, they're not Hulk, they're not Iron Man, they're not Cap, they're not Spider-Man. Like, if you're going to continue to bring those out, and we saw it this past year with Shang-Chi, and Eternals was another one that a lot of people aren't familiar with. I myself I'm not familiar with that. So at some point for these Disney Plus series, I think to help build brands up and keep brands moving forward, like, you need to establish some of these as just strictly series on Disney Plus that go a couple seasons. Like, don't have it necessarily have to always tie into a movie. Put something out there so that way people can get invested in the characters, learn who they are, know the backstory. You can tell that over the course of a couple seasons for some of these characters, and then develop it into a movie or a tie-in somewhere down the road. So I'll be interested to see how that plays out over the next year or two, and see how Marvel decides to move forward with that. Moon Knight has me super excited just because of the story and the character itself. Once I did more research on Moon Knight, I got more and more excited for it. So I think that one will be a pleasant surprise. Secret Invasion, Donald, like you said, I'm really looking forward to that. And then the two big hitters for me, Doctor Strange, Black Panther. I'm all in on those. So hopefully Marvel can continue their hot streak. I don't see any duds from a movie standpoint. Some of these Disney Plus series may not hit the same for everybody, which we saw that this past year with what came out. I enjoyed everything. I watched everything, so it's not like I didn't tune in for anything. But yeah, it'll be interesting and exciting here moving forward to see what 2022 does as far as furthering phase 4 of Marvel.
So
Go
ahead, Chris.
What did you say, Jason?
Also, what I love about the Disney Plus is like they're just quick, short series. You can knock them out in a day, 6 to 8 episodes. Like, honestly, I don't care what they drop on Disney Plus, series wise. I'll tune in just because it's short and simple.
Right.
So we now have, we brought in with the whole multiverse thing. We have the Disney Marvel stuff. We have Sony's now been brought over. The Netflix stuff has started to move over. Disney owns the 20th Century Fox stuff. Do any of you have like an item in your head that you want to see happen in Phase 4? Because Phase 4 is going to be the longest phase of anything. This is continuing on and on. Like, right now there is no Avengers movie planned to end Phase 4. So whether that's what ends it or we just end on a regular movie, like, is there something that you want to see happen in here to continue on, or a character that you want to see more than anything?
I heard that maybe in Doctor Strange that Professor X was going to show up. That's rumor going around.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one thing I need. Just give me X-Men in there. I don't want it to be too late to where you can't get the originals. Or
you can have X-Men. I heard X-Men. I heard Fantastic Four.
Deadpool.
Deadpool.
You gotta give me Jessica Alba. You gotta give me that Fantastic Four.
I thought a good point that was brought up to me recently was that what if in Doctor Strange we get Fantastic Four and Chris Evans comes back as the Human Torch? That would have been that would be tremendous to see him because listen, rumors are Tom Cruise is going to come back as Iron Man for Robert Downey Jr. Right? Who else has been scheduled to come back in a different role? Cam, help me out here. Who?
I'm just saying that better be a rumor. That better just be a rumor.
No, but they're recasting these roles to have people to come back and for the multiverse because it's out there now, it's open, so you can bring in these different versions.
You can bring anybody,
different people.
Isn't Robert Downey Jr. younger than Tom Cruise?
Yes. So it'll be interesting to see if we get like those types of cameos of people pop up as different versions of the characters that we know. So to speak. So yeah. I like I said, I'm super pumped for it. So but back to Chris's question, anybody, I know Blade is supposed to be coming in, I want to say as part of Moon Knight, we're gonna get Blade. As well, I believe the rumor was. So be on the lookout for that to come in.
You might get Deadpool in there.
Deadpool at some point too. So
Blade might be showing up sooner than we expect. I'll just leave it there.
I'm okay. I don't need necessarily the original cast just because they got to a certain point, but for me it's X-Men. We gotta end if we don't at least end Phase 4 with X-Men coming through.
And then also too, they have to do a Fantastic Four because we need Doctor Doom in the MCU because he is one of the best big bads that Marvel has on their list. So once they're done with this whole Kang thing, they can move on to Doctor Doom because Doctor Doom, he has stories and he has stories with everybody.
I read today that Marvel is potentially having a huge cameo in Doctor Strange 2 that will like break Marvel fans' like brains and rack them up and everything. I feel like that has to be Wolverine. There's like it has to be Wolverine. I feel like it is. I don't know why, but my guts tell me it's Wolverine.
So who do we get as Professor X?
I read it might be that. Is it James McAvoy?
The younger guy.
Oh, you get the younger one.
I read that it might be him.
Nah, you got to get Captain Picard out there.
It ain't Patrick Stewart. I'm not going to pop as hard. I mean, I'm probably going to pop, but I'm not going to pop as hard if it's not Patrick Stewart.
All right. Any other final points for the year that is to come in 2022 for Marvel?
Well, just sit back and enjoy the ride.
All right. Before we wrap up tonight with this roundtable, wanted to pose a question or two out here to get some final debate back and forth. So Spider-Man No Way Home was the final movie of the trilogy of the series that was Spider-Man. All three movies did very well. All three movies were highly rated. All three movies are highly touted amongst fans where you go. However, as far as Marvel trilogies go, Captain America or Spider-Man?
Are we saying MCU only?
MCU only. So Captain America Winter Soldier, Captain America Civil War, Spider-Man Homecoming, Far From Home, No Way Home.
I think it's Cap easily.
Yeah, I agree. Cap.
out of Captain America, Winter Soldier is my favorite movie, and out of the three of them, I think that's the only movie that holds up. Because the first one I really wasn't a fan of, and the third one, Civil War, there were so many cameos that I felt like an Avengers movie more than a Cap movie.
Oh, yeah.
So I'll say Spider-Man.
Jay?
I'll put Thor over Spider-Man. Cap.
Okay. Since I like to stir the pot a little bit, and since this has been on recently, and we are doing a Marvel show, but I want to compare trilogies here since everybody is so high on Spider-Man. Spider-Man trilogy or Batman Begins,
Spider-Man.
Dark Knight, and Batman. What'd you say, Jay?
Spider-Man.
You're taking Spider-Man over Batman Begins, Dark Knight, and
Spider-Man.
Really?
That's how deep my hatred is.
Donald?
I do not like Batman at all, but Joker is my favorite villain of all time, and just that one movie trumps everything Spider-Man did.
Chris?
The Dark Knight may be one of my favorite movies of all time. That could be in my top 5 of favorites of all time. So, I enjoyed the trilogy. As much as I hated the Bane voice in the third one, that ruined it for me. But I enjoyed the Dark Knight trilogy. Definitely Batman over Spider-Man.
Cam?
Yeah, I'm going Batman too. I might have enjoyed No Way Home more than any of the Batman movies, but enjoyment and actual knowing it's better than Spider-Man. I'm not stupid. I know it's better, so I'm gonna say Batman.
I'll go Batman as well. The only reason why I brought it up is because I watched The Dark Knight the past 2 nights. It's been on TV, and and last night I watched Batman Begins, and then Dark Knight was on right after it, and I just I forgot how good of a Dark Knight. Yes, Chris, I'm in agreement with you. Is one of the better movies out there. But just that whole that three movie trilogy and everything else was just, as much as I didn't per se like Christian Bale as Batman, but I don't think you're gonna top that.
Hey, watch out, March 4th. I might top that. That
We'll
looks
see.
really good.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
I'm not going in hating. I'm gonna give my man a chance.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a chance. The trailer looked good, so I'm gonna give it a chance.
The new trailer looked real good. Trailer looked real good, especially with the Riddler stuff. That's what I want to see it for, just the Riddler.
Right. So, all right. Well,
one quick thing, Steve. So, Jason, did you watch Eternals yet? Because you weren't here when we were discussing that.
No.
Okay.
Why do you think I'm late?
Oh, we know why you came late.
I fell asleep. Watching it.
So
I didn't get to finish it. No.
Yeah. So not everybody knows the reference, but there's a little Superman nod in Eternals. Yeah. And what did everybody think of that? That saw it? Like, do you think because they kind of made it the comment is, I'm real, like the guy from an Eternal. So it's Superman is a character. The Marvels are supposed to be real. What do you think about that?
Talking about Icarus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Superman would beat them all up, so that's all I have to say about that.
I agree.
Very true. Yeah. I mean, out of that whole thing, Jon Snow was my favorite character. So
yeah,
I mean, you do get Marvel references in Flash and stuff like that. So it's good to see them recognize each other in universe.
Who knows? Maybe we'll get a Forbidden Door situation. We'll have the DCU crossover.
Run in.
We're already getting that. So,
all right. Hey, we appreciate you guys logging on and tuning in tonight with us for this roundtable. I enjoyed it. I think we're going to do some more of these moving forward. It was good banter, good back and forth. Chime in, leave your comments, hit us up on social media, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. As always, go over to our YouTube channel, like and subscribe. Check that bell so you get notifications when we go live. Email the show, dumbmarkspod@gmail.com. Head on over to Pro Wrestling Tees, pick up some merch, prowrestlingtees.com/dumbmarkspod. We'll give you a live shout out on air. Thanks again for supporting the show. Any last words before we sign off and get out of here for the night, gentlemen?
See you bright and early tomorrow.
All good?
Yeah,
Cam?
real quick, one more thing. So this is like a side little plug here, but my friend is making a video game right now. He's an indie developer. They're doing some cool things over at Junkie Studios on YouTube. Go ahead and check them out. I joined on as a part of the development team, helping like write the story, doing a little voice acting and stuff. So if anyone out there enjoys little fan indie games, go check that out. He's doing awesome work. He has really cool people helping him out.
You got two very avid gamers here with Donald and Jason. You got a semi-avid gamer in Chris. And then you got me that logs on the Halo once in a while whenever I have the chance and the time. But no, good plug. We'll definitely check that out. And maybe as you guys get into it, and that we'll have to do a little roundtable with you guys, bringing on, talk about the game. You know, the thoughts behind it, how it all got started, and everything else. We love supporting local people. You know, got to give the creatives their due, give them their flowers. So by all means, we'll definitely follow up with you guys and touch base with you guys as you work through the process there. So, Cam, thanks for tuning in tonight. We appreciate
Thank you.
Thanks for having me. This is awesome.
And like as Chris said, we'll be back live tomorrow morning in our regular scheduled time at 11 a.m. So 12 hours from now, we'll be going live with your favorite Saturday brunch bunch. The best 4-man booth is back in the business. And with that, I'm a Mark, you're a Mark, tell a Mark. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you in 12 hours from now. See you.